Good evening, everyone. Happy Friday. I know this is not a normal stream time, but I got some stuff I need to work on. So, we're here. Who's here with me? Vic, Sam, Granola, hello. Molly, congratulations on hacking your cat. Excellent, excellent. Donkus, welcome in. Dan Afton, hello. Dan, Jamie, what's up? What's up? Oh, Jamie, this is not a question. I am indeed that was not a. I didn't think this was a debate. We got the 13. I got all the albums. I got all. We're deep in it. Swifty for sure. Came to you guys for help. Well, I came to you guys to keep me sane while I go through. The first thing we're gonna do this. We've done this once before, at least, going through with the identification keys. Donkus. These are all still part of the museum loan that I took out a while ago. I'm heading back down there next week. So I am going to take my first batch of identified beetles back down with me. And so I just want to knock out a couple more. So you get to see the dog. Poor Donkus. The public will get you sick like that for sure. But yeah, so I'm hoping to take down identified material, and there's just a couple more things that I want to work on that I would feel good about. Get to see the dog. Oh. No. Not that collection, Donkus. That one was a private collection that we were picking up part of a donation for, so that material came back to our museum. The stuff that I'm working on now is from a different museum, but they're like, hey, you know ground beetles, and I said, yes, I sure do. Let me fix up some of your stuff. Yes, correct. We are all on the same page right now. So there's a couple of these like easy genera and easy groups that I would like to get knocked out before I take them back next week. And our first order of business is this tray right here. These are going to be very familiar to you. These are Passamacus, which are the big, like, warrior beetles. These guys, for your reference. So there's a bunch of these, and Florida has 7 species. So we are actually probably the height of diversity for this group in the US. But I sorted out all the ones that I could tell were different, and then I definitely keyed out as separate. But this box, I think, is all the same thing. But we have to check anyway, just to do our due diligence here. So we are going to look at the key. You're not going to look at the key. I'm going to read the key. And we're going to kind of rapid fire these if we can figure out what we need to look at to identify it to this thing. Okay. So the first thing, it says 1 pair of ambulatory setae on abdominal sterni 4 through 6. Do I have an image of the key? Yeah, I can probably do that. Add source. Window capture. Okay. Can you guys see that now? Wait. There it is. Okay. It's there. Is it readable? Because I don't know how well the zoom in will help. Okay. Not readable. I I thought about doing this Donkus, but I wasn't, because I'm gonna have to. It's gonna scroll around a lot, and I wasn't sure how to make it big enough that you could read it. Oh, better now. Okay, we'll try this. Um, we'll see how it goes. Because now the other thing is that I only have part of the screen to actually put the beetle on. And so it might be harder to see some of those things because now there's less space underneath for me to have my stuff. Is it scanned? No, this one shouldn't be. This is what I call the master key to all North American ground beetles. So this is a big PDF that has the key to all of the genera, but then all of the keys to species also in here. So it might be hard for you to see, but this says 435 pages. So this is like a massive thing a friend of mine put together that has a ton of pictures and everything in it. So it's not... Yeah, it's not the full thing. Or it's not... it shouldn't be scanned, is what I was getting at. But, okay. So, 1 pair of ambulatory setae on abdominal sterna 4 through 6, or no such setae present. Ambulatory setae are underneath on the abdominal segments 4 through 6. They are basically going to be pairs of hairs going on opposite sides of the midline. Now, it's going to be hard for me to show you what that looks like because these I don't think have them. So if we go in here and we get it in focus on the abdomen, there's no pairs of hair here on the midline. Marginatus, subsulatus, strenuus, sublatus. Okay. We can use one of these probably to show the difference. So this one doesn't have the hairs, but this one I think should. Yes. Okay, so this is a different individual now. And there's this little tiny puncture right here, here, and here where there's a hair coming out. It's hard to see, but you can at least see the bottom puncture there. So that's what it would look like if it were to have them. But I believe that all of ours will not. So rather than look for something that's not there, or try to scan for something that's not there, we're just double checking to make sure that they're not. So no such CD present. Then we go to number 2. And then number 2 tells us the fixed apical, meaning at the top, mesotibial spine. So at the top of the middle tibia, there is a spine that is like small and pointed, not flattened, or is that spine flattened and blunter? So we are going to look at the middle legs. I can probably do it this way. We're trying to identify beetles, Jamie. Okay, I like this a little bit better. Because I couldn't really see what I was showing you. These are beetles that are from a different museum that I'm going to be going back to next week, so I wanted to get some more stuff identified for them. We've decided that there were no hairs on the underside of the abdomen, so we were going to number 2. And then 2 says fixed apical mesotibial spine, acute, meaning sharp and pointed, not flattened, or is it flattened and blunt? This is the spine that it's asking about here. Right there. So that is pretty flat and pretty blunt, if you ask me. So then that gets us to 4. So I'll have to come down here on the next page. Pronotum markedly constricted basally, hind angles below, or hind angles right, meaning like 90 degrees, like this picture down here. Elytra smooth, very large, 29 to 35 millimeters, only in Florida. Basally is at the base. So all of your body parts, at least when talking about insect stuff, the base is where it attaches to the body, and the apex is like away from the body. Or I guess from like the center point of the body. Because the base of the pronotum is going to be here, and the apex is up here towards the head. But then if you're talking about the elytra, the base is here at the midline, but then the apex is down here all the way at the butt. So everything has a base and an apex that's kind of relative to the middle of the body. So this is asking if the pronotum is constricted at the base, and you can see that here in this picture. It's really kind of like tightened in at the base with these 90-degree corners. Or is the pronotum little constricted base? Cinched, yes. Snatched, perfect. Hind angles obtuse, meaning greater than 90 degrees. Elytra irregularly dimpled, much smaller, 21 to 30 millimeters. So our options now, we're at a terminal couplet, which means that one of these two is our answer. It's either Passamaquus strenuus or Passamaquus sublaevus. Mop, what's up? So we are going to flip this over and look at the base of the pronotum. It's going to be square, you think? I don't think. Sounds big like about. Yeah, it is. That's what we were talking about. It says angles right, meaning about 90 degrees, versus obtuse, meaning like greater than 90 degrees with the angle. So if we look at this beetle that we've got right now compared to these two pictures on the key, it's not as snatched as the one on the left. And those are very sharp corners. It's more similar to this, where it's less snatched, and also the angles kind of open out. So I would be happy calling this obtuse, which means that this is Passamaquus sublaevus. And I did already identify some of these. There's a singular beetle in here that's turned around, back towards the bottom of this little tray. And that's where I stopped identifying. But I do believe all of these are going to be the same thing. And so now I'm going to just do a little bit of speed ID, where I'm going to check, because that was pretty fast. That was only three questions, right? Does it have hair or not? Is that spur sharp or not? And then, uh, are the corners snatched or not? Roach, what's up? Is it snatched or not? The question of the ages. What? You can drink on Twitch, right? That's not illegal. I'm not going to get TOS'd for a beer. Double checking. Okay, great. I don't want to get TOS'd for things. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just had to double check. I don't want to get in trouble. Okay, so new beetle. Zoomed out pretty good. No hairs. Blunt spine. Not that snatched. Correct ID. Rules are different for big streamers. I feel like we can get away with more. Ooh, you're gross. You're crusty. No hair, blunt spine, not snatched. I was surprised. I saw a clip earlier of Emmy Grew with a gun. And that was crazy to me because I was really worried about showing you guys hot dog knife for whatever reason. I thought you could get in trouble for weapons. I don't know. But yeah, Emmy and Cinna showed her gun off today, or I saw a clip at least today. That was crazy. Have I ever accidentally said stream logo to coworker? Yeah. So a lot of my coworkers are my age or younger. Some of them are here sometimes. My friend who's actually doing our sub badges comes to stream every now and again. I got a lot of feedback from my bug tier list the next day at work. So they know some things. But no, I don't know that I've slipped up and called the beetle snatched before. I've definitely not said straw ussy in a professional setting yet. So I think we're good. I think we're good for now. They are snatched, yes. Vernal, let me go get, and we'll make 2 new debuts on stream as well. Just to get jumped for the tier list. Okay, mayo chicken nugget, get out of here. Okay. Gotta find them. Nope, that's new. This is new. This is hot dog knife. Streamer hand the hot dog knife. Ooh. I brought this to open a package the one time. I forget why I grabbed this one instead, But hot dog knife was a big hit, and it started. This was the second one in this line by a company called Boker. That they started with this one, which is called the Dessert Warrior. It is a pink donut, pink sprinkled donut. Come on, there we go. Sprinkled donut with blue handle knife. So they made this. This is the Dessert Warrior. The other one was in fact called the Wiener Warrior. What is this next one called? Ah, yes, okay. So Dessert Warrior, Wiener Warrior, and the style of knife that this is, like the original design was the Boker Kalashnikov. So then they made this one most recently. This started out as an April Fool's joke a couple years ago, and then everyone was like, "Wait, no, I actually want that." So the Boker Kalashnikov. This is the Boker Kalashnikov. So this one's corn. It's corn. It's got the juice. So those all exist. And then this was a targeted Instagram ad that I was like, you know, you got me. We're going to go for it. This is the Sassy Cat Stiletto. I don't know if you can see there on the handle, that is legally not Garfield. Legally distinct Garfield. Yes, just Sassy Cat, and then on the back it does in fact say I hate Mondays. Just another cat on an orange knife that does not like Mondays, you know? There's so many of those around. But yeah, for legal reasons, not Garfield. Those are most of my fun knives. The rest of them are like way more practical. Except for this one that Mom Tomology got. And she just got this one because there's a spider on it. So this one is the Stream Room knife. This is what I've used to like open most things since the hot dog knife debut. This is the one that I've been using mostly to, and it's one of those fun ones. Oh, Scooby-Doo's phenomenal. I'm sorry, Murray. I mentioned hot dog knife, and Granola didn't know what I was talking about. And so we had to go break out the hot dog knife again. Why did we talk about hot dog knife? What did I... Oh, I asked about drinking a beer. That's why. I asked about drinking a beer, and then we talked about Emiru's gun. And then I said that I was worried that one time that I showed off hot dog knife. So then we brought out hot dog knife again. Cheers to you, Granola. Okay. This one's non-crusty. Let's go back to the scope cam. Like how, yeah, I mean, I've seen it too. I've seen the streams where like extra Emily goes shooting and whatnot, but I just wanted to make sure. Just wanted to make sure. Oh yeah, the lights. This was new recently as well. It looks better without the big light on. Poncho. Nice. It's not that high off the ground. I was still in the chair. It was long arm, I don't know. Okay, so again, we're checking. No hairs, blunt spine, and then not super snatched. Okay. No hairs, flat spine, not snatched. Good. No hair. Snatched. Good. No, we're looking for not snatched at the moment. Oh, we were so here's a problem. We need the middle leg. And there's no middle leg. Good thing we have the other side. Okay, flat, good. And not snatched. Excellent. Snake clip rooster posted last night. No, I don't think so. Send it to me. Have I always been into buggies? Not this hard. When I was growing up, we would go. Like I caught butterflies and fireflies and stuff as a kid. It wasn't like a huge thing. But I got into bugs in college. I started working at a butterfly collection. And then I took a general entomology class because I really liked the butterfly collection. And then I got really into beetles after that. So I wasn't like a bug kid per se. I was just kind of like a general Animal Planet, Steve Irwin adoring child, animals in general. And bugs were fine, but I wasn't like super into bugs like some kids are. So yeah, I found it in college, and that was the end for me. We were never getting out of this one. Oh, that's the one with the missing leg, so we did that already. No hairs, blunt, no snatch. No hairs, blunt, no snatch. And no hairs, blunt, no snatch. Perfect. So, just like I said, just like I expected at least, all of these in here were in fact the same thing. We just checked everything from like the middle down. And I grouped these together. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's correct. But we still have to double check everything because it would be embarrassing if I was wrong. But we just looked at the non-snatched one. We can take a peek at what the actual snatched one looks like. So this is also a much bigger beetle. I'll show you the size comparison in a second. But this is the one that has the snatched corners. It's a lot tighter in, and these corners here are about 90 degrees. Hey, Tortilla. Pert border, yes. Yes, they do. So, size comparison between the one that's snatched and the one that is not. Snatched is the big one, not is the smaller one. So size difference alone gives you a bit of an idea. But things can vary in size. So compare them next to each other. You have this one where the corners are like 90 degrees. And then this one where the corners are not as sharp. They stick out more, so they're more obtuse, as the key says. So yeah, these two are different. So we can put that one back there, and this one back here. And so of that genus, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 6 species that are in Florida. So this one, the one on the left of your screen, there is 5 of the first one, 8 of the middle one, and then just a singular of one species. And then this other box over here on this side is, this one here is the one that we just went through, where those are all the same thing. Curry is ready. That sounds delicious. Enjoy dinner, Marie. We'll see you back here later. We'll probably be here a while. So we've checked these off, and I think Monday we're going to do another beetle review stream, sort of like we did last week, where I just showed you what I've identified. So you might get to see these again. But there's a couple other groups that I want to make sure I have identified before I take them back to this museum. So we shall put those back. And we have a couple of oddball guys in here that we can knock out pretty quick. But the next goal is the genus Cleanius. There we go. So the bottom half of this unit tray, everything from here down, is a single genus. These are a couple of oddball things up here that we can take care of pretty quickly. But down here, these are all the same relative. So it'll be pretty easy to go through the key here once we get there. So we'll start up at the top. We'll cut back. And then we will go... So this is way back up in the key. Shot in the dark. Let's see how you did. Yes, exactly, Donkus. No, fuck. God damn it. Tortilla. Again. I don't know why it keeps happening. Ugh. Embarrassing. Oopsies. The 5 time. It's not getting any better. Y'all might just have to get used to it. I'm so sorry, both of you. Um, 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 um. Okay. So we're way back up in a different part of the key right now. So there's a lot of stuff you have to do to get to couplet 38, and I'd rather not right now if we don't have to. Antenomeres 5 through 10 submoniliform. So we're looking at this beetle. I don't know, Roach. The lights are really bright, and it is kind of glossy. So this is what we're looking at right now. And so we are seeing if antenomeres 5 through 10 are submoniliform. Moniliform, mono, and form. So moniliform antennae would be, it looks like a string of beads or a string of pearls. Submoniliform means that they're pretty compressed, they're almost round but not quite. And so they look shorter than other ones would. So the trick with antennae is that you have to find the widest portion in order to double check your lengths and widths of things. So I just know that based on this is how it's going to look. What is that one? I don't know what that emote is. Oh, way too dank. That is pretty good. Cicada, that's awesome. So we are looking at the end of the antenna right now. And you can see that the second to last and kind of down towards the middle, all of those antennal segments are pretty short and about the same size. I wouldn't go as far as to say round, but they are submoniliform. So that's check 1 for this couplet. Margin of pronotum with about 7 satigerous punctures. So now we are going to check the sides of the pronotum. I would say round. Why wouldn't I say round? Because they're kind of square. They're rounded for sure, but on the sides they're more straight. And that was probably hard to see with that angle that we had them at. But like termites, for instance, have truly moniliform antennae. It just looks like dot, 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 dot. So yeah, I wouldn't say these are perfectly round. It must have just, yeah, the angle that I had it at before. A little bit easier. Okay. Submoniliform, short, slightly compressed, good. Margin, meaning the edge, of the pronotum, which is the little neck piece that is behind the head, with about 7 satigerous punctures. So whenever it asks for hairs, I always try and look across. I always try and look across the body, rather than like straight up and down. Because if you're trying to see a hair, it's easier to see it like the long way than it would be to be looking straight down at the top of the hair. Hey Liv, excuse me. Welcome in. You tracking Roach from Case's stream? Hot dog style. Yeah. So right now we're looking at like the far side of the pronotum right now. And you can see pretty clearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. So the key says 7. It says about 7. So things can break off, things could not. But the other side of the key says pronotum with only single pair of CD on each side. So even based off of that, we know that this is the first choice. But also, if we turn it around and look down across the head the other way, we can see more hairs. Why did that flashbang so bad? Hold on, I'm getting there. Okay, pronotum there. Always adjust the wrong way. There we go. So then on this side, you can see clearly that there are 7. So based off of that alone, we can say that this is Morion. But there's one more cool thing here. It's that this 6, 7 Donkus. See, I know that was you because Tortilla would never say that. The 8th elytral striae appearing as a zigzag groove. Roach, you keep that over in Case's stream. We don't do that here. Literally 6, 7. So when you're counting elytral striae, or these lines that go down the body, you start at the middle and you count to the outside. The number of striae that a given group has can change, but like within a species, it stays consistent. And so in this one, there are 8, and the 8th stria appearing as a zigzag groove with numerous, evenly spaced, oscillate punctures. We don't have... What are we doing? Stop doing that. Please stop doing this. We broke it. Hold on. Okay, we're back. Evenly spaced. Yeah, I don't fully agree with that. But there is no denying that this is zigzag. So we're good there. And that tells us that we are in the tribe Morianini, and this is the genus Morion. Now, there are only two species in the genus Morion. One is East Coast, one is West Coast. This guy was collected in Florida. So this is Morion monilicornis. So will this also show if I do it this way? It probably will. Pretty close, Roach. Okay, so it did work. Yes, it did work that way. So when I do my determination labels, basically being like, yes, this is what I am saying it is, and then here is my name. So it's like who's doing the ID and then in what year. Because when you do the IDs, sometimes things can change. And if it's like, oh yeah, like that was 20 years before that name changed, like it's fine. But if it's something, you know, after, it's a little bit easier to track. So you keep track of like how things get read. This is a catalog of all of the ground beetles in the US and their distributions and stuff. Ridiculously helpful paper. And so I put the name on the label, so Morion monilicornis, but I was coming here looking for the author name here. So I needed to know who described it and when. How do you think you say it, Roach? No. Geodefiga. Adefiga is the suborder that ground beetles are in, and it gets broken up into Geodefiga and Hydrodefiga, meaning the water associated ones are the Hydrodefiga, and Geodefiga ones are the ones that are on land. Because there are this catalog is ground beetles, tiger beetles, false ground beetles, and wrinkled bark beetles. But there has been some changes since 2012 when this came out, so we don't necessarily need to worry about Geodefiga. Just know that this is the book that tells you what all the ground beetles are. Okay. We're good there. And I will just cut. There is not Arboredefiga. Those get included in the Geodefiga because trees grow on the ground. Oh, why am I using these? So I just got the little ID label. I'm going to put it with this specimen, and then we are good to move on to the next one. However, why am I using these shitty orange ones when I just got a brand new set of label scissors? Westcott 8-inch titanium. I have been using this same style of scissors for about as long as I can remember to work on my labels. They cut really nicely, they're a good size, and I just really, really like them. I had to take my pair from home into work the other day because the ones that we ordered for work were on back order. So I ordered a new pair. I have two brand new pairs of these. And I have one pair downstairs that is like general purpose, cutting wrapping paper, cutting stuff open sort of scissors. These, because they're in my home, won't need the label. But I label these at work where it just says labels only on them. I exclusively use them to cut identification labels just because I'm very particular about it. So, new label scissors, excellent, love that. So now we've got two new guys. Fabric scissors for fabric. Yes, exactly. It's the same thing. I know people get real fussy about that as well, so I totally get it with having my label scissors, but even paper scissors, I'm like, no, just labels. Do bugs get boogers? No, they don't have a nose. Okay. So these are two more guys. Pretty similar. Doxed, Roach, doxed. Okay. So these are the next two that we have up. This is also a pain in the butt. There's a lot of steps to get here. Husband beard scissors to cut off your clothes. Ugh. Divorce granola. So there's a lot of things to get to this section that we're not going to go over right now. But the big thing that we are going to focus in on to just double check to make sure where we're supposed to be is right here. Antennomeres 2 and 3, also 1 in some species, carinate medially. A carina is like a ridge. So we are looking to see if antennomeres 2 and 3 have a little raised ridge on them. So let's zoom into the antenna. So I think you can see it better on this one. Maybe too far. Oh man, that does not show up at all. So if you look right here at this inside edge of this third antennal segment and watch as I just focus up and down around it, you'll see that there is a little bit of an edge there. It's narrower and skinnier than the rest of the antenna mirror. Sick eye. Yeah, they do. It is a little lip, and if we come over here to look at the other one, we're now like I think you can see it better this way. But like we're looking straight down at the ridge now. So we're looking at the very top of it. And so you can see it on that like second and third antennal segment there. There. You guys see that now? Fabric, what do you mean? Granola knows what's up. So right here, there is like a little ridge on the top of this third antennal segment. And like I said, we're looking straight down at the top of it right now. Do you see that like little line that's coming down that segment? Yeah, okay. Roach, you see it then. That is the carina on antenna mirrors 2 and 3. So we know we are at the right place, and it is this genus right here, Poecilus. I have heard people call this Poecilus. I've heard people call this Poecilus. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. That's where we are. We know we are in that group. Poecilus, yeah. Poecilus. Without a lateral bead or with a well-defined lateral bead. Okay, do you guys see how at the very, very edge of the pronotum, there's like a little raised rim that goes all the way around? I mean, you can't see that it goes all the way around, but like that little extra rolled bit up at the top, that is the lateral bead that this is talking about. So it's not Poecilus leucoblandus. So then we move down here to couplet 2. Vividly metallic, usually green above. Prothorax with basal foveae not or only indistinctly punctate. Or unmetallic black or with elytra dark metallic, prothorax with dense confluent punctures in and around basal fovea. Are these guys green or not? Is the easy way to look at this. The basal fovea are these impressions on the base of the pronotum. You see green? Yes, I agree that these are green. So we could stop there, but we can also look at these basal fovea just to be thorough. God damn it. Okay, so you can see these impressions. A fovea is like a depression in something. So the basal fovea are these depressions on the base of the pronotum, which is where we're at, not or only indistinctly punctate. I didn't want to say it, Roach, but it kind of does. And in this case, we would call this indistinctly punctate because there are pretty clear punctures there, these little dots. But comparing it to the other couplet with dense confluent punctation. Confluent means that the punctures are overlapping and like running into one another, and that's not the case here. This is these are distinct punctures, so we would call this indistinctly punctate, which I know I just used a different word to describe it, but that's where we're going. So that then takes us to couplet 3. Prothorax with sides virtually straight before somewhat denticulate hind angles. Or prothorax with sides clearly sinuate behind hind angles not denticulate. Denticulate means like small toothed. So if we zoom in here on this drawing in the key, it's pretty straight, but also you can see how this corner is like very barely, but it sticks out a little bit. It looks like a little tooth that's kind of coming off of the back corner. That's denticulate. So not only does this look pretty straight to us, if we turn just a hair sideways, maybe get it in focus again. That is the little tooth. So right here is that little tooth coming off the edge. Yes, and then so that was our one specimen. That's great. Let's come over and check this other one. It's a little bit more clear on this one, especially on the left-hand side. So we see the same shape of the impressions and the punctures. We come over here, and the edge is pretty straight, and then you can really see that little tooth down there on the bottom left-hand corner. I think you could ID a beetle, no help. You did really well on that scarab that you sent me. The first one, at least. The second one was already identified, basically. But so yeah, that's our little hind angle, our little denticulate hind angle, which is good. And then we'll come back to this other thing to get all of the name here for us. Easy. Easy peasy. And so the name also helps you a little bit with the ID. Chalcides, like this, refers to like coppery. So you had some of that like more dark maroon reflection, but you also get a little bit of that green. You know, copper, yeah, like Minecraft, for sure. No, yeah, for real. So those two, again, easy peasy, same thing. Just gonna move those off to the side. These little fuckers, not as easy. Oh, this is not what I thought it was. That's embarrassing. Okay, these are actually not that bad. Go back down a bit. And pull it over here. And let's get it in focus. Okay. Little guy. Little smaller guy. Space camp. Hello. Again, we are not going to bore each other with the key, getting the key to where we can actually use it. This is a pretty easy one. Once you're in this tribe, Lysinine here, dorsal surface of one mandible with a broad, deep, transverse notch. Let's see what we've got going on. You don't see no notch? There's notch. Antennae on his antennae. That's a cool thing. I'll get there. I'll get there in a second. So this is another one where it's like if you haven't seen what an unnotched one looks like, you're not going to be able to really see the notch. So if we take a peek at this other one here, This is a normal mandible. That's pretty good. So here you have the mandible goes from right in front of this antenna up to the front. And it looks like a triangle. It's wide on the left-hand side, and then it gets narrower towards the front, but it's not really interrupted at all. This is not there's a little bit of a little dip, but this is not a broad, deep, transverse notch. If we go back to this one, you can see, again, the mandible starts there right in front of the eye, but then it comes forward a little bit, and then it goes down and comes back up. So there's definitely a... So that is what I would call a broad, deep, transverse notch. So this, again, a pretty easy ID. This is the genus Batister, which I think is maybe one of the coolest generic names that there is. Batister is sick as fuck. But then it makes it easy for us. See you, Flumgoon. Have a nice night. Thanks for stopping in. Is it the right mandible with the deep notch or the left? We're looking at the left, so that's easy enough. We are going to the subgenus Baudia. So the vertex of the head behind the eye, iridescent or not. So we'll have to check this. So it's got some cool texture. The vertex of the head is like the flat part on the top. So basically between the eyes and back. So this is saying, is the vertex of the head behind the eyes specifically iridescent or not? It's got some cool texture. It's reflecting a little bit, but I would not say that this is iridescent. So that takes us down to 2. Now we have to look at the elytra. Basal 1/3 to 1/2 of elytra, not distinctly paler than apical, or basal 1/3 to 1/2 of elytra, distinctly paler than apical. So we are now comparing the front of the elytra that is closest to the middle of the body to the back of the elytra. Key fob. So yes, he is a little pale on the outside, but not, I would not say distinctly darker or moving too far. I would not say distinctly darker or distinctly lighter in that case. Another thing that you can do is check your work. Just do a little bit of Googling. Let's see. Bannister, Baudia, Mycans group, Particeps. So, if we take a peek at this, this is what it's asking. If it's darker at the base than it is up here at the top. So this is definitely not the same thing. It's not like that. So then we are down here. Apex of mandible truncate, total length less than 4.5 millimeters, or apex of mandible oblique, total length greater than 4.5 millimeters. Green Day and Linkin Park your face. Sick mod. American Idiot was the first CD that I ever bought with my own money. Haven't really followed Green Day a ton since then, but back in the day, shit ripped. So we're going to have to flip this guy around and take a peek at the mandibles to see if they are truncate or not. I'm telling you, it's you can't really see it with the thing right now, but it is in fact less than 4.5 millimeters. Soapy Slug, hello, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. So it's small than 4.5 millimeters, and the mandibles are truncate. So it looks like it's just kind of cut off in the middle. They're blunt at the tip. Now, is the pronotum with the sides strongly and abruptly incurved or not? Basically, does it have this like cut going over there? Does he eat leaves? No. Does not eat leaves. Does he eat seeds? No. These are pretty straight. They're not very strongly incurved. So less incurved posteriorly. Okay, posterior angles slightly rounded. Yes. I would call this Batister reflexus. Now we still have that other one that we have to check. So we know it's Batister. We know it's the left mandible that is notched. Those mandibles are truncate, non-iridescent. And then let's check the pronotum, and it is the same. So both of these are Batister reflexus. So this one was described by LeConte in 1880. LeConte. C-O-N-T-E. What does he eat? Predator? They actually don't know for this guy. They think it might be a snail predator. But instead of using its like really long mandibles to get in there and peel the snail out like the Scaphanotus do, it has this like blunted mandible to crack the shell of tiny snail. Okay, Batister reflexus. Good there. There. Okay. LeConte and escargot. All right. We finished the oddballs. So now we have that bottom section of like other of that one genus that I wanted to identify. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. There's 16 here. And there's actually a pretty good diversity here. If we pop me full screen. There's a pretty good variety of shapes and colors. So it might not be happening that we get through all of them tonight. Just because this is going to be a lot of keying. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll start with some of these bigger ones. Make it easy. Start off with the largest. One down. I'm going to pee, and then I'll be right back, and we'll finish this one. Or we'll start this one, I should say. Automod hates you. Well, don't say bad things. Okay. Enjoy him. I will be back in a second. Breaking the seal already. Yeah. It doesn't really matter when the bathroom's right there. That definitely is more of a concern when you're out. But if we broke the seal, you gotta start refilling the seal. Did I know that there's science behind breaking the seal? I did not, Tortilla. Tell me. And while you do that, I will get the key pulled up that we need. Do I look like a scientist? I don't know. I've never seen you. But you got a mod badge, and that means like something in a science channel like this. All right. So everything that we are going to be looking at now is the genus Clenius. I've also heard Schlenius for this one, but I say Clenius. This first section here is going to give us a subgenus, and then we are going to have to go from there. Read a paper once and it was something about the way your brain and pee muscles work with alcohol in your system. And yes, you're actually just going to pee forever once you break the seal. So holding off is best for fewer interruptions to partying. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool that that's real. I pee. My seal is very small. I pee so much when I drink. So yes, even if it wasn't science based, that's how I operate. But I'm glad to know that there is science behind it. But like I said, bathroom's right there. Doesn't matter that much. If I'm out, big difference. But in my own house, I can pee as much as I want. Okay. First couplet here. Pee the same do when you're sober. What's the drinking age in Canada? Drove for 8 hours today and peed 0 times. That's crazy. I couldn't do 8 hours. Trying to get drunk. Okay. Everybody keep notes on your pee. Report back. All right. So the first thing we are going to be checking for on these specimens is if there is a single large seta at or near each posterior angle of the pronotum. We don't, Tortilla. We do in fact have 6. We got head, we got thorax, we got abdomen, we got 2, 4, 6 legs. It's an insect. We're good. Okay, so now we're going to be looking for a big hair by the back corner of the pronotum. And unfortunately, is broke off. Okay, I swapped. Marie, you. You guys know that you spent 6,900 chat points last year? I think all of those were hydrates. I maybe there was like a highlight message at one point, but like I don't think you guys did anything else except for hydrate. And that's like almost 700 hydrates. So that's crazy. Store-bought, thank you for the 3 months. Marie, thank you less, but thank you for the redeem. Never seen anything hydrated in the redemption queue. Yeah, I didn't think so. I know, Molly. It's fine. Like I said, bathroom's right there. So we're looking at the genus Clenius. And their whole thing is that they are very hairy. And that makes it hard to actually see these corner CD compared to like the rest of the hair around the beetle. So that first one that we had was covered with dirt and the CD were broken off. So we weren't able to see it. So I swapped the beetle real quick just so we can see what that hair looks like. And we're going to move forward with the other one, assuming that the CETA was there. So if we zoom in all the way, when you assume, that's a good point. That's a good point, Tortilla. But the other option is if there is a series of 4 or more CD on the sides. So it's very unlikely, not impossible, but very unlikely that all 4 would break off. So we're looking for just this one on the back corner. And that is good enough for now. So do you all see this singular hair right here that the pin is tapping on? That is sticking up and away from the body, while all the hair under it is what we would call decumbent, which means that it's like laying flat back against the body. So even on these really hairy beetles, you can see that one hair that is sticking up and not going backwards. So that in the corner of the pronotum right there, so right by that little hind angle, this is the hair that we are looking for. But again, on the first beetle that we were looking at, that hair is busted off. Oh no, there it is. I lied. Why did we go through all that? I'm just stupid. It's so long that I didn't even notice it. So you guys can see the flat hairs there. Maybe bring it up a bit. And right there, kind of in the middle of the screen, there's the hair that goes from the middle down to the pronotum. So it is there. It was just hard to see. Why he got iridescent shimmer on the edges of the carapace? Because it's pretty. It's pretty. This is a nice looking genus of beetle. There is some really, really nice metallic coloration that we're going to get to. But yes, okay. So, moving forward. There is a single large hair, so we go to couplet 2. Mandibles elongate, the cerebral blade at least twice as long as the eye, scrobe much less than half as long as mandible. Or, mandible short, curved, cerebral blade no more than slightly longer than the eye, scrobe extending more than half the length of the mandible. We got to learn a lot of terms right there real quick. So let's come up to the head and look at the mandibles. So the cerebral blade is the cutting surface. So basically from the end of the scrobe forward is the cerebral blade. At least twice as long as eye. The scrobe, much less than half as long as mandible. So the scrobe is... I need to turn it more sideways so you guys get a better view. Teeth, yeah. So the scrobe, S-C-R-O-B-E, is this indentation on the side of the mandible. So right here below the antenna, this kind of goes in. That is the scrobe, and it starts back here, basically where the antenna is, and then kind of fades out going forward. So those are the two things that we need to look at for this couplet, is the length of this cutting portion of the mandible twice as long as the eye, and does that scrobe go more than halfway out or not? Get out the ruler, we gotta measure. No, we don't, JB. It's until you've seen what the other one looks like, it would be tempting to get out and measure this, but it is very clearly not that other thing, since I have seen it. Source, dude, just trust me. But I can pretty safely say that the scrobe, so that indent again, goes more than halfway up the mandible. So we're going to take that and go to couplet 4. Okay, now, third segment of antenna elongate, longer than first and second combined, and longer than fourth segment. Or third segment of antenna not elongate, equal to fourth segment, and shorter than first and second combined. So let's take a look. Which one? Yes, what? Yes, which one, Tortilla? So we need a better look at the antenna. Yes, first. Third segment elongate, longer than first and second combined, and longer than fourth. I think I feel pretty good about that based on what we've got here. So again, third segment, longer than first and second combined, and longer than fourth. So this guy right here, I've lost my pin. Surely there are more pins around this place. So we're looking at this segment here. It is the third, it is longer than the first and second, and longer than the fourth. So that takes us to Clinius SSTR, which is the abbreviation for Clinius sensu stricto. So this is what we would call the nominant subgenus. All of these other things would be like, oh, Clinius euryodactylus, blah, 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 or Clinius pseudamoglossus, blah, 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 or Clinius anomoglossus, blah, 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 or Clinius agustinus, blah, blah, blah. Something in this group here is Clinius, blah, blah, blah. Meaning that it shares the most characteristics with like the original description of the thing. And so like this is like the OG subgenus here. So that's what we are going to find. Not Euryodactylus, not Anomoglossus. Sensu stricto. Okay. Very finicky choose your own adventure book. Yes. Yes, it is. That is that is exactly how I describe these things. You're choosing the path to go down. Dip early game night with your brothers. All right, good night, Marie. Thanks for hanging out while you could. Kick your brother's ass. Report back. Let us know. Let us know how it goes and if you won. Those are the important things. Beetle D&D. That's funny. Okay. There's a lot of characters to look at here. Lateral margin of elytra curved into basal margin without distinct angle. Elytral epipleura continuous with basal area of elytra not separated by a carina. Free abdominal sternites densely punctate laterally, nearly or quite glabrous medially. Versus lateral margin of elytra forming distinct angle with basal margins, elytral epipleura separated from basal area by distinct carina, punctation of abdomen uniform. the epipleura thing kind of sucks. That would require a lot of explanation. Let's look at the punctation on the abdomen because it is easier. Okay, so we're looking underneath right now, and the portion of the beetle that is basically up against my picture and the key is essentially the middle of the body. So right now, you can see over on this edge, over towards the right side of the screen, that there are hairs coming out all along this side. Those little hairs, oops, kicked it over a little bit. Bring it back. There we go. So all these little hairs here also mean that there are little tiny punctures right there. And the key asks if it is uniformly punctate across the abdomen or if the middle section is glabrous, which means not hairy. So I'm going to try and focus this. Just on the surface of the abdomen here. So this is the center line of the body, like going right here following the pin. Do you guys see all of these little hairs like here and here and here? Not really, but if you say that there, I believe you. That's fair. Thank you for blindly trusting me, Tortilla, even though I just lied to you earlier. So that's fine. That's like the easier thing to look at than the elytral epipleura. So we're gonna go to couplet 6. Okay. Oops, didn't mean to make that so big. Try that again. Okay. The stakes are unbelievably low. For you, maybe. It's not going to say that Tortilla identified this beetle. It's high stakes. High stakes for me. If I'm wrong, I get shot. Okay. Besides being really dirty, that got us to couplet 6, which says elytra bicolored with basal 2/3 blue, apical third red, or elytra unicolored or with pale margin. I'm not seeing. If you're wrong, it's a nice chance for new discovery. That's true. That's true. I agree. This also looks like one color. This is not Clenius ruficata. Um, Ruficata is maybe my favorite Clenius in the U.S. This thing is just phenomenal. That's a terrible picture. I wish it was better. Um, Here's a pretty good one. Then let's go scene over here. So rufa means red, cauda means tail. So this is what Clenius ruficata looks like. It has this bright red butt cheeks. So what we are looking at is very clearly not this. So yeah, it's not this one. This one is also only found in Arizona, and the one that we have is from Florida. So that also kind of helps us narrow it down, but not always. It won't always help. So one color. All one color on this guy. Okay. Boundless Burton, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. So that takes us to 7. Pronotum with coarse, relatively sparse punctures, which, near midline at base, are separated by more than twice their own diameter, legs always light, or pronotum with dense punctures which are separated at least at base near midline by less than twice their own diameter, legs light or dark. So let's zoom all the way in at the base of the pronotum and see what we can see. Second one said had legs. Yeah, so in a perfect world, there would be a good separation there based on leg color. But there isn't always. So if it were just to say in the first half, legs light, and the second half, legs dark, if it didn't have that other qualifier in there, it would be like, oh, well, I must go this first way. Adenaki, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. You would just see legs light and go that way. So, unfortunately, there are some with light legs that go this second direction. But let's check that again. Near midline at base are separated by more than twice their own diameter, or at base near midline separated by less than twice their own diameter. So they're kind of hard to see. It's a little bit, it's real zoomed in, but what do we think here? Are these punctures super close together, or are they further apart? They're close. I agree. I totally agree with that. So then we go to 10, which is right down here. Okay. Met episternum, wider than long, hind wings usually vestigial, or met episternum, longer than wide, hind wings fully developed. You'll notice that this says usually vestigial, meaning that you can't just look at the wings in this case. So we have to figure out, or we have to look at the met episternum. And that is simply one of those things that you would just have to know or find a diagram for. So let's crack this point block and see some wings. No, I would rather if the elytra were already split open, or like one of the wings was sticking out, sort of like this guy down here, we wouldn't need to check anything else. But we're not going to crack the wings, or we're not going to crack the elytra because I'd rather not damage the specimen. But let's break that down. So met is middle. So you've got the prosternum, you've got the or the mesosternum, and then you have the metacoxa. So, sorry, met episternum is last. So, met is the hind sternum. Epi means on top of. So if we're looking under this beetle, this piece ooh, that was pretty good. This piece here, between the middle and hind legs, this is the metasternum. So then in relation to that, on top of, would be this piece right here. So does that piece look wider than long, or does that look longer than wide? You can't say it's equal. That's not an option here. So it's kind of hard to interpret because this hind leg is in the way. Let me... So don't ever do this unless you are sure it'll be fine. Insects, when they dry, still have axes of movement that can still work. And so if you know which direction the leg is supposed to go, you can, even after it's been dried for like a really, really long time, for instance, this specimen was collected in 1975, so a full 20 years before I was born. You're able to move things in the correct plane of movement. So I was able right there to just move that hind leg out of the way. Do as Evan says, not as he does. Yeah, exactly. You get it. So I moved that hind leg out of the way, and now we can see the full met episternum. So it goes from here to here. Oh, sure, looks long. Exactly. Yes. Correct. So that's one of those things with experience. It's not too hard to tell even with that leg blocking. But if you needed to be really sure, my first option probably should have been to check the other side. Again, insects are bilaterally symmetric, so if it's the same on one side, it should be the same on the other. So rather than moving that hind leg, which is still attached, by the way, I do want to make that very clear. I didn't just break the leg off. It's still there. See? It's definitely longer than wide. So that takes us to 14. Anterior angles of pronotum prominent. Pronotum slightly to strongly sinuate posteriorly. Dorsal surface green, blue, or black. Or anterior angles of pronotum nearly obsolete. Pronotum not or slightly sinuate. Dorsal surface bluish black. So let's bring it back and check the other direction. Check this. Now, we're talking about the anterior angles. So the front of the pronotum now. Would you say that these front corners are prominent or not? In relation to? That's such a good question. We don't really have a good in relation to, do we? Oh, that's not Cereses either. Oopsies. What about you? You're definitely not. What about you? You're also not. Yeah, we don't really have a good option there, do we? So if you don't have this species, you can then go and search and see if you can get any photos that will help you illustrate better. So we'll go there, we'll go images. Observation, pretty color. Yeah, okay. It is for sure. So what else is there? What else is on that couplet? Slightly to strongly sinuate posteriorly. That's not fucking helpful either. This might have to be a dude, just trust me. Yeah, source dude, just trust me. Yeah, 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 yeah. This is the hard thing, right? This is like if you were going about this and you didn't have either intimate knowledge of what this other species looks like or reference material on hand, this sucks. This is a hard part of the key if you don't have reference material. And so part of what keeping a collection is, especially like a personal collection for a specific group, is that I can go check, right? Like I have this thing that I could go check and compare and look at it and go, okay, yes, it looks like this one or it doesn't. Um, it's a kind of a pain in the butt, so I'm not going to do it for the time being. But again, please trust. So dorsal surface bluish black, great. So that takes us to 14. No, takes us to 15. And then 15 says legs and antennae almost always predominantly red brown. Lateral rim of pronotum at least slightly reflexed dorsally near the posterior angles. Striae moderately fine. Or legs and antennae entirely black. Lateral rim of pronotum narrow, not at all reflexed. Striae very fine. To remind you, this is our beetle. Why is the delay so bad? Hello? Okay, you guys are still here. All right, there we go. So we're back on this thing. Legs and antennae almost predominantly red brown. I would say yes, as opposed to black. So then we go to 16. And now this is our terminal couplet. So it's going to be. No, it's not. Not yet. Length less than 18 millimeters or more than 18 millimeters. It's pretty big. It's definitely over 18. So, okay, you're bad at numbers. That's fine. That's fine. Let's see what we can actually do here. I don't think this whole thing fits on screen. So that's my problem here. Okay, so you've got like the front half of the beetle right now. So you measure from the mandibles back. And so if we scooch it forward, we're at like almost 22 millimeters. So it's bigger than 18. There are other things you can do here with like the width of the pronotum, but again, just kind of on ease of use, we'll just go off of that. Sorry, so now we are at our terminal couplet, which means that one of these two is our answer. Pronotum with basal width nearly equal to greatest width, or pronotum with base distinctly narrower than greatest width. What do we think about that? Is the base, so like the bottom part closer to the pin, narrower than the greatest width of the pronotum? Or is it nearly equal? Does anyone else have any thoughts? I would say narrower for this one. No, no. I think you guys are just guessing. So, okay. I thought that would be an easy-ish one, but those corners are inside of what I would call the greatest width. But it is fairly close. I can absolutely see why you guys were saying that. I know it's hard, Tortilla. I fully understand. I've spent 10 years working on this, and I still don't know all of the things sometimes. But that's why it's important to finish reading the Make Your Own Adventure book before you make your decision. Because we have that. And then it says tarsi and third antennal segments usually conspicuously darker than tibia and basal antennal segments. Or tarsi and third antennal segments not conspicuously darker than tibia and basal antennal segments. So it gives us another out. If we're not sure on that couplet, or on that part of the couplet, we can check these other things. So if we come down and go back to our lovely third antennal segment that helped us out so much earlier, is that a lot darker than the two segments preceding it? Or is it not distinctly darker? It's kind of the same. Yes. Very good, Vic. Yes, yes, yes. So that's the third antennal segment. We can also look at our tarsi, which we should all be very familiar with, kind of like the toes area. So if we come out here, now these are a little bit harder because they do look slightly darkened. But they're not distinctly darker than the tibia. So they are a little bit dark, but they're not that much darker than this long segment that's going down right now. And again, this is another thing that comes with the experience of doing this. Clinius fusicornis is rare as hell. And Clinius erythrops is not. Let's see if we can pull up a picture here. Bug guide's going slow. Come on. It does not like the load. Try again. Okay, let's go. INAT. Was INAT going to help me? No, not really. There's no good pictures. Oh, okay, wait. Hold. Hold still. It's taking forever. Anyway, it's not that one. So this is Clinius erythrops. While that is trying to load, and I'm hoping to show it to you, I'm just going to get my label going. Oh, good. The back end batch failed. Back end fetch failed. Sick and cool and awesome. Harpalus, erythrops, Platinus, Hypolithus. There we go. There it was. Erythropus germar. Is it going to load? I don't know if we're getting it. It's still loading, but it's not making much progress. And I got another back-end fetch fail. Okay. We're not going to see Cleanius erythropus, apparently. Okay, GG's. Easy. Let's try another. Okay. So now we have a new beetle, so we have to come all the way back up to the subgenera key, because it could be different, or it could be the same. We don't know. The first thing we have to check is that singular long hair on the edge. And we know this one has it because this is the one that I showed you that hair on when I thought the other one didn't have it. So we're good there. Now we switch to the mandibles, whether they're elongate or not. So check in here. That one's kind of a funny angle, so maybe we'll check this side. So remember, one of the other things that we're looking at in this one is how long the scrobe is. So we are checking if the cutting edge of the mandible, so right here, is more than twice as long as the eye, which I do not think it is. And then if the scrobe, this little indent here, comes more than halfway out onto the mandible, or not. Long scrote. Yeah, so I would say mandibles short, curved, cutting edge no more than slightly longer than eye, scrobe extending more than half the length of the mandible. So then we go to 4. And we are now back checking the length of that third antennal segment. Whether it is longer than 1 and 2 combined and longer than 4, or about the same length as 4 and shorter than 1 and 2 combined. Longer, yes. I agree. So that takes us back to Cleanius sensu stricto. So we're going back to that same key again. So whatever we have this time is pretty close to what we had last time. So, blah, 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 blah. Sternites densely punctate laterally, or are they uniformly punctate? There are labels pretty far up on this, so I'm going to need to move some of them out. Family game night, have so much fun bugging. You have fun at family game night, Tortilla. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for stopping by, as always. Your Moderation powers will be missed. Strike. Yeah, that's okay. It's not as late as I thought. I was like, you guys start game night at 10 p.m.? But I forgot Tortilla is not on my coast. Okay, so we are seeing if the middle of the abdomen has punctures and hairs. And I know it's kind of hard to tell what it is, but all of these little dots right here are punctures with hairs. So yes, this one is what we would say uniformly punctate on the abdomen. So that gets us to 6. Is the elytra bicolored with the basal 2/3 blue, apical third red? Can flip it over again to check, but I don't remember that. I don't remember it looking like that. Y'all see red at all on that abdomen? I don't really think so. Did you mean blur? Did you mean blue? But yeah, no bright red behind. So then we can move on to 7. Pronotum with coarse, relatively sparse punctures, where they're more than twice as far, or separated by more than twice their own diameter, or are they close punctures? Are those more than twice as far apart as they are wide, or are they shorter than twice as far apart? Vic, what do you think? Shorter or longer? I don't know. That's okay. That's totally fine. Granola is correct. These are shorter. So the distance between the punctures is less than twice the diameter of the punctures. So you can see how some of them there in the middle are basically touching. The other option is that the punctures are like super distinct and pretty far apart from one another. So based off of that, these are by less than twice their own diameter. So then we go to 10. Met episternum wider than long, hindwings usually vestigial, or metapisternum longer than wide, hindwings fully developed. Now, I noticed something interesting. back here. Center is yours compared to the whole bits. Yeah, that's good. So, man, I wish Tortilla was still here because she just asked about this. Cracking the wings open to look, or cracking the elytra open to look for the wings. So these elytra are open a little bit naturally, just how the beetle is currently dried. This piece right here, oh, don't make her come back. She's fine. Let her play games. This piece right here in the middle, that's wing. So that might tempt you to automatically go with the one that says wings fully developed. However, the one before that says hind wings usually vestigial, means that sometimes they're not. So we have to go back and check our met episternum again. So go back and check this underneath piece. So that leg kind of in the way. Let's check this side. Even worse in the way. So again, do as I say, not as I do. So we are looking at this piece here. Is that wider than long or longer than wide? This piece right here. Wrong piece. I hope you meant for you and not for me. I looked at the one to the side. Yeah. That one's definitely longer. But this middle one, okay. We're saying longer than wide. Okay. If you're going to say so. Anterior angles of pronotum prominent or not. This is the same one that we had trouble with before. So let's see if there's any better resolution here. I don't think there is. So again, without that other species to compare to, this is a pretty tricky one to actually get. Put a ruler to the screen. That's dedication granola. So this one's tough. Dorsal surface blue black. Or wait, where are we? Hold on. 14. Surface green, blue, or black. Dorsal surface bluish black. Well, I think we've maybe run into a talking point. For this one, I don't know that we can say that it is all one color. That pronotum is pretty green, and our elytra are pretty blue. The way that these couplets read is dorsal surface green, blue, or black, meaning that it is all one color. Or is the dorsal surface bluish black, which again is all one color. So, unfortunately, this is one of those like unwritten, it's probably should be in the key better than it is, but it's not. Ways that this couplet is phrased. So, you guys said longer than wide. I would not have said that. If we go back here, so look at that, which is the one that we're currently on, versus this one, which is the one we were just looking at before, the other specimen. So this here is that same piece. That is like a lot longer compared to this. So, this was not a fault of your guessing. This is another thing that comes with experience, and that this key, I don't think is written. This is like one of those things where it's like you learn how to kind of reformat this. So if I were to rewrite this key, I would say met episternum wider than long, slightly longer than wide, or as wide as long. Versus met episternum distinctly longer than wide. So this is confusing on multiple fronts because it doesn't explain like how long to wide it should be to be considered long. But then this is also a specimen that is in the usually vestigial wings that has full wings. So this is another thing. It's like bugs aren't easy. We've never claimed bugs were easy. In fact, I've always said the opposite. But this is one of those things that this is one of the reasons why it's hard, because this is the resource that exists, but it's not the best written. I have copies of a lot of these keys that just have notes in them. Just so many notes of like, I would cross this out and rewrite it in the margins kind of thing. Because with experience, you gain those sorts of things and you can be like, oh yeah, here's like a slightly better way to look at it. So thank you for humoring me. Metapisternum wider than long. So we're now going to go to 11. Pronotum scarcely sinuate. Length of pronotum usually less than 80% of greatest width. Elytra similar to pronotum in color. Versus pronotum distinctly sinuate. Its length usually greater than 85% of the greatest width. Head and pronotum metallic green or bronze. Elytra opaque black. Opaque blue black. So we can check a couple things. But most importantly, and I think the easiest section here, is that the head and pronotum are metallic green or bronze, and the elytra are opaque blue black. So that alone, without even looking if it's sinuate or not, this pronotum is also longer than wide. That one is fine. We can attest to that one. It's distinctly longer than it is wide. So this one is Clinius estivus. So we have gotten to another one. And this was published. This one was identified and published on for the first time in 1823 by Thomas Say. When are you going to write a modernized version to publish? It doesn't really work that way. I could do I suppose I could do like an updated key to Clinius. But typically, the reason why you do an updated key is that you have something to add to it, like a new species or a new species that had been found in the US or something. It wouldn't really make sense for me to publish and then like get credit for a paper for just taking someone else's thing and like fixing it. So yeah, probably not for this group. But granola, you are in some luck. I do got something cooking. Most of chat probably knows about this. But since you're pretty new, Evan, bug book in the making. How did you know? Close all those tabs. Let me pause for 1 second. Oh, shit, where did it go? It came. Is it receipts? It's not there. Reputation public. There it is. American deals. Okay. So there is this book that was published in 2000 called American Beetles. And each chapter of the book gives a summary of like that group in the US. And also so it gives a summary of that group in the US and has a key to all of the genera in the US. This is the original ground beetle version. It's 101 pages, and so it goes like this whole summary here, but then there are keys to the different genera, sort of like we were just looking at. But this is one out of like 140 chapters in this book that got published a long time ago. One of my dissertation chapters for my PhD is they're doing a new version of this book. It's called Beetles of Canada and the United States, which we have been calling BOCUS this whole time. BOCUS for Beetles of Canada, United States, basically. And I'm the lead author on the Karabid chapter. So I took this whole key here and I reworked it. I have a lot more images, new summaries, new records, and everything like that that I was able to incorporate. I will be happy to show that off when the time comes, when it is ready. But unfortunately, it's just the one chapter in this much, much larger book. So I don't think you'd be able to just get my chapter. It is also very academic and like very high level sort of stuff. So it's not going to be like a fun, easy read or anything like that. But I don't think you'll be able to just get my chapter. It would be a larger book volume, and they haven't told us how much it's going to be yet. So I think that means it's probably going to be pretty expensive. But it is really exciting. It is a really exciting thing that this is getting updated, because since 2000 we've evolved so much in terms of our like understanding of North American beetle taxonomy because of DNA work and stuff that's comes out, like families that got split or raised or elevated, or new things that got found in the US for the first time that we had to report. So I'm very excited about this opportunity. It's kind of crazy that they asked me about this as a PhD student. And it's also crazy that they basically let me do it by myself. The Scarab chapter, which was only 80 pages, has 9 authors. So there was a bunch of different people working on the Scarab section, and the ground beetles, they were basically just like, Evan can do it. So I did, and it's currently off at review right now. So we sent it out to other experts in this group, and we're basically be like, hey, which parts of this are good and which parts of this are Evan being full of shit. So I'm waiting to hear back about how the reviews go. but the book should be out next year. And I have no control over that because my chapter is in. But there are like 150 chapters in this one this year. And some of the other groups, like weevils and longhorn beetles and rove beetles, are way longer than the carabids are. So I know not all of the really big chapters are done yet, and mine is not done either, but it is at least off at review for the time being, so I don't have to think about it right now. But what I am hoping is that I fixed some of the key aspects. There was a lot of terminology and jargon in a lot of this. And so I feel like I cleaned it up a little bit to make it more understandable. And in cases where, like, when I was using the original version of this book, when I was starting to learn ground beetles, the parts that tripped me up, the things that I was like, that was, once I actually figured out what it meant, I was mad that it was like described so poorly. So I've updated the key. I have a ton more images rather than just these line drawings like this. There are some of the line drawings, but it's not all going to be line drawings like this because, again, the technology to do digital high-res stacked photos is so much better than it was 25 years ago. So with the new pictures and the new keys, I am really hoping that it is like, I hope it's easier for more people to work on ground beetles. Because right now, I feel like the only one that likes them. And I think part of that is that it's such a big group. There's like 2,500 species in the US and 44,000 worldwide. So yeah, it's like a really big group, and a lot of them look pretty similar. And so this thing that I am working on, like that I'm talking about right now, is just a key to the genus level. The keys we were just using were to the species level. And there would that the carabid chapter, if it was down to species, would probably be like 600 pages. And I'm not there yet. There's still a lot of North American stuff that I've not seen and that I would need more experience with to feel good about making those keys. So I don't think I'll be fixing Cleanius at any point at any time soon besides like in the margins of my notebooks. But the whole beetle key for North American ground beetles, I hope that I have fixed. I feel good about what I put forward, so I feel like I fixed it. But I don't know. We'll have to see how people that decide to use it feel about it. When are you doing your own book, though? I've started. Snape's copy of the potion books. Yes. So, give me a sec. Okay. I had to go to the library. Okay. So, this is the dynastine scarab beetles of the United States and Canada. This is. You guys are really excited about the idea right now. This is not my book. This is the book that I would like to emulate, though. So, dynastine scarabs are all of the big, like, rhinoceros beetles. And there are. Okay, do not tell me. Okay. So, across the U.S., there are 61 species of Hercules beetle. And in this book, they give let me get to one. Come on now. So they have there are keys in here to species. And then there are species accounts with pictures, a little bit about the natural history of them, where they've been collected, and maps for everything. So, like this here, the picture of the beetle, and then the map of all these different county points. This is the style of book that I would like to make. However, like I just said, there are 2,500 ground beetles in the US, and there are only 61 rhinoceros beetles. So that book would be, this thick if I did that for everything. But I live in Florida now, and Florida has a really interesting ground beetle composition. North Florida, we have things that kind of come down from the Appalachians and like that outer coastal plain. But then we also have a lot of Caribbean influence of things that come up from down south. And so there's a ton of really cool ground beetle stuff happening in the state in terms of like what's here. But what there's not a lot of happening here is other people working on ground beetles. So there's a lot that we don't know about the things that we do have here. And so I did my undergrad in Florida, and I wasn't working on ground beetles then. I didn't start working on ground beetles until my master's. And I also didn't know much about like collecting or how or where to collect or anything cool about the geology and the like evolutionary history of Florida itself. But now that I'm a big boy and I got a big boy permanent job, and I foresee myself being in Florida for a good long while at least, I want to make that book, but just ground beetles of Florida. It's still like 450 species, so it's still going to be like a real thick book. But it will have keys to all of the groups in Florida, photos of everything that we have here, county level species distributions, natural history notes of like how and where and when to collect them. So I started this project almost immediately after getting here, going through our collection and pulling out every single drawer, looking at every single specimen, and seeing what things we had from Florida. And so we have about 250,000 ground beetles at our collection. And not all of them are from Florida. We've got shit from all over the world. But I'm busy. I'm busy doing that. It's not like a full-time project. I'm not specifically working on ground beetles of Florida day in and day out. But it is something that I have started working on in the like 5 months that I've been in Florida. So I would not hold your breath, chat. This is going to be a very long-term project. Not only because I have to go through the collection and database everything that we already have, there are questions that I would like to answer. It's going to be longer than 5 years too, Granola. Like in all honesty, it will be longer than that. We have a conference coming up in January. That's like sort of a local thing. It's like Florida entomology ish, and I'm going to put out my plea of like, hello, I need your ground beetle specimens and I would like the data from your ground beetle specimens. The really cool thing about the beetles that we were just working on, they're already databased. But they're databased at the family level. So that specimen is in a database somewhere with its exact date and locality and county and everything like that. But it just says it's a carabid. When I give it back, instead of having to do all of the entry of like this is where it was found and all that sort of stuff, they just have to update the ID. So I'm not recording any of this. I'm just giving it back to them, and then they're going to send me a spreadsheet. Would I get assistance? Yeah, in some ways. But again, this is more of a... Nobody else really works on them, so I would probably have to do most of it by myself. But, yeah, I mean, anybody that has ground beetles from Florida, I'd be happy to look at them. I know, like, other collections in the area, I'm going to have to go up and check the University of Georgia. I'm going to have to check the University of Alabama. And just basically put out a call of, like, hey, does anybody have digitized ground beetles records from Florida? And then it's also, once you have the data, it's like a lot of data cleaning of, like, oh yeah, they said it's this thing, but that only occurs out west, like it's probably not. And so I can either throw that record out based on like probability, or I could like request the specimen and have them send it to me or send me pictures. And so there's a lot of bridges to cross. There's just a ton that goes on, and there's a ton that kind of goes into it. So, yes, I will do this eventually. I'm already working on it. But it is a very, very long-term goal. Like I said, there's this conference coming up. Oh, no, I'm doing that all on my work computer. Oops. Oh, well, thanks. Quality control and photos would be big. Yeah, absolutely. We've got a really nice stacking system at work. So, like, for the plates, like, of the pictures to put in the book, we'll be taking all of those. But in terms of, like, trying to identify things from photos, yeah, it would be a real big pain. But that conference talk is coming up in January. And so I'm going to give a little bit of history about like the work that's been done on ground beetles of Florida and some of the, I don't want to say mysteries because it's not really a mystery, but there's just a lot of stuff that we lack data on. And so I want to get more of that. But just like my last conference talk, I will probably give it to chat once I'm done with the conference. So you guys will get to see that eventually, but it won't be until like mid January at least. And then I have a seminar after that too. Holy shit. I forgot about that. So the conference talk is only 15 minutes, but then 2 weeks after that, the last week in January, I have a seminar talk for the museum next door, and that one's got to be 45 minutes. So I'm gonna have I have to figure out what I want to talk about for that. I haven't even started that one yet. Ooh boy, busy, busy, busy. But yes, so that is my mastermind plan for a book, and that one will still be, I think, pretty academic. A little, like it has keys and everything in it, but I think it would be more digestible than whatever Bocus is going to be when it comes out. And it's going to be limited. Yeah, is it going to work? Like, are people in California going to be clamoring for a copy of a book about this one specific beetles in Florida? Probably not. But I want to do it, and there's at least a couple of people that'll buy a book. So this is not a long term get rich scheme either. But I really do love this group of beetles, and not many other people do. So, by beetle or county or other, I would do by beetle. So at the beginning, there will be keys to the genera, and then keys to the tribe, and then I would do keys to the species. So it's kind of like a three-leveled thing because you can't just start at species. But some of these groups, like there's only four odocanthines. They're all in the same genus in Florida. And so like that wouldn't be very bad. But there are some things that we've got like 20 plus species. So it's going to depend a lot, and it's going to take a lot of work because doing species keys is like so different than doing higher level keys. Because with species keys, you have to like, there are some that might be existing already, but you have to cut out all of the other riffraff that's not in Florida. And so I would have to do that, and then also if there's anything new to Florida or newly described, like I have a new beetle maybe. So if there's anything that has to get described as well, keys have to be fixed because a lot of them are written for the whole U.S. or for like the whole group. So you can take bits and pieces of that and restructure it for just the ones that are in Florida. So yeah, it's a big project, and I like fully recognize that, but I am excited about it, and there's a lot that I need to learn and catch up on about ground beetles of Florida because, like I said, nobody else is really working on them actively. Nobody has worked on them in like 25 years. And so yeah, look forward to that conference talk after I'm able to give it in January. Florida only beetles. Gonna put crossovers with other states. Not Bravest. Thank you for the follow. So niche because extra diverse. Yeah, thanks, Not Bravus. Welcome in. Welcome to the stream. Um, Florida only beetle is going to put the crossovers with other states. That would make it a lot longer. There are a lot of things that are only in Florida, like I said, because of like the Caribbean stuff coming up. But yeah, I could probably list other things where other states at least where they're known. That this book that we were looking at earlier, the catalog, if we go down to a species, it shows you like where they're known from, at least at the state level. So Approximatus is known from DC, Maryland, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Head out and try to get your payback. Night, Jamie. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you had fun with the Beatles. But doing something like this wouldn't be that bad. Because this stuff exists already. And so I could be like, yes, it's in these specific counties in Florida, but it's also been recorded in all of these states according to this other book. And I would probably do that because it's interesting, at least to me. And if I'm writing the book, that's all I care about is who it's interesting to, and it being me. Of like what is only known from Florida, what versus what is found elsewhere. Like this, here's like a little leak. This is not like groundbreaking or anything, but this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about in my upcoming talk. If I can get Bug Guide to load for me again. What's the best way to do that? Probably not. Probably not. Please hold. Remove. Yes. Add source. Window capture. I don't know why I did it that way. That was stupid. I'll just do it like this. Okay, so this thing. You're fine, granola. What are we here to do? Drink beer and talk about beetles. That's what we were doing tonight anyway. So this thing. This is Cymindis rufostigma. Rufo means red, stigma means spot. So it's this beetle that has this big red spot on the wings. And this was described from Florida in 2013. So this is pretty big. It's like over a centimeter, so like over half an inch long. It comes to lights, which is like a very common way for people to collect insects. And it's like really noticeable. It like this is there's nothing else that really looks like this in the state. So it's weird to me, at least, that it took until 2013 for this thing to get described. That's the first thing that's weird. The second thing that's weird, Starberry, hello. The second thing that's weird is that it was collected, it's only known from 4 localities. There's one in the middle of South Florida and one on the coast in South Florida, and then one in north central Florida and one in northern coastal Florida. So the Uh, let me hold on. Let cook. There we go. Sort of. So there's like two collecting sites up here, and there's two collecting sites down here, and they form this rectangle over like most of the state. But nobody's ever collected it anywhere in the middle of the state. And that feels weird to me. Again, it's big, it's pretty obvious what this is. Like, it's just really odd that we haven't collected it anywhere else. And so originally, this thing was described from Vitamin Pug, thank you for the raid. Yes, we're learning about Florida beetles right now. Hello, hello. How was your stream? How did you guys do? What did you guys do? Neon Sock Media, thank you for the follow. Dog, thank you for the follow. Hello. Welcome in. Thank you, thank you. So I was just explaining this little beetle that's here on screen right now. It's only known from Florida. And it's known from 4 localities in Florida that are basically forming a big rectangle. Ooh, whack job Scientologist. Absolutely. Vitamin Pug, yes, thank you. Dog, I see you're a man of culture as well. Indeed, indeed. So this is distributed really weirdly around Florida. And nobody's ever collected it in the middle of the state. And that feels weird because the habitat that it's not been collected in is very similar to all of the spaces where it has been collected. How's the ID going? We did pretty okay. I was wrapping it up, but then we got down a rabbit hole. So we're still going. But it went well. We got a fair amount of stuff done, and I've got less to do tomorrow. So with this thing, we had, I think, 14 total specimens. All of them were collected at one of those 4 sites in Florida. The collection that I work at, we have the original. So, like, we have the one that this species is named for, and this is that thing. Plus 4 more specimens. So we have 5 in total. And this was, like I said, only published in 2013, so it's only a 12-year-old beetle, essentially, at this point. I wanted to figure out more of this today. And I went and looked in our unidentified stuff. So the way that our collection is organized, it's like, oh yeah, it's ground beetles. Here's like all of the things that are pretty closely related. And then here's a bunch of stuff that we know is related to this stuff ahead of it, but it's unsorted to species. And so we had like 8 drawers of unidentified things that are related to this. The second one I pulled out had 5 more specimens. So in just opening this drawer, I went, there it is. There's more. I doubled the amount that we had. I basically added another 25% onto the known number of specimens in the world. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, this is awesome. All 5 of those specimens still came from one of those 4 sites that it's already known from. And I just can't figure it out. I can't figure out why why it is only known from like the corners of this rectangle, when the whole middle bit of the rectangle is probably fine. And so the reason we got on to talking about this is they asked about if I would ever consider doing a book. And the thing that I would like to do is very similar to this book, where it has pictures and like maps and everything for these species, but just of ground beetles in Florida. And so to fill in some of these gaps, like quite literally the gap that goes across like the whole middle of the state, I have to go collecting. Like, that is the only solution, is to go run traps and go out there and try and find this thing in places that it hasn't been found before. And so maybe I'll find it, maybe I won't, I don't know, but like that's why I said the book is like a long time down the road project, because that is one of many examples. I have checked iNaturalist already, Donkus. I've tried that. Nothing. There are no pictures of it. Oh, you mean like actually getting other people to try? Florida doors, the traps. Yeah, okay. Is there a university in that central missing region, or is there an overall lack of collections from it? Yes, Bravest. That is an excellent question. And what we were working on earlier, those beetles that we were IDing earlier, all came from a university that is pretty central into this uncollected rectangle. And so I picked up 5,200 carabids from them, 5,200 unidentified beetles. And I was really hoping that there would be one of those things in those unidentified beetles. And there's not. And I couldn't tell you why. I really don't know. And it's not in their database as something that they have, but I also haven't been able to go into their collection yet because it's been under renovation this entire time that I've been in the state. So once it is back open, hopefully at the beginning of next year, I'll be able to go down and check through and see if maybe the mystery one with the red spot is lurking somewhere in there, of like misidentified or misclassified, because it wasn't described until 2013. So anybody that may have come across it prior to that would have probably put a different name on it, and it might just be hiding somewhere in the collection. And maybe they have another, maybe they have another specimen, or maybe even we might have more specimens in our undetermined stuff. But I'm just very confused about why it's only known from those 4 spots. And so I'm going to talk about that in the conference talk that I have coming up in January. That beetle specifically is going to be one of my examples of like, hey, this is really weird. I don't know why it would be like this. Hopefully someone else might have specimens that they could tell me about, so I wouldn't have to like go crazy. Mystery of this beetle really bugs me. The whole talk is called Ground Beetles of Florida: What We Know and What We Don't. So it's kind of in the premise of like, I'm going to talk about some things like I said, the history of who has worked on ground beetles in Florida before, but then also like maybe two or three or four of these like small things that I'm like, we don't know anything about this, and it's very weird why it's distributed where it is, or like why we don't have specimens. I have a I collected in my like third month here. I got a sample in from work that was a ground beetle that had never been collected in Florida before. And it's not like particularly surprising that it's in Florida because it's known from like Louisiana all the way up to South Carolina. It's just it's known from all of those other states, but it had never been collected within the boundaries of Florida before. And the problem, like the reasoning for that, I think, is because North Florida is like super overlooked. Whenever anybody from out of state comes to Florida to, go looking for bugs, they automatically want to go down south and hit like Orlando, Tampa, the Keys, Miami, like all of the really far south things. They want the tropical bugs. They want the bugs that are only in the US in South Florida. But that leaves that whole really interesting region of North Florida and the panhandle of like getting the dregs of Appalachia and like these things that are probably up there, but nobody's ever collected before. So that's another part of it is just like people don't really collect ground beetles that much, and they also don't collect equally across the state. So in order to fill out some of these records of like, oh yeah, there are these things all across the northern border of the state, but nobody's collected them before, I gotta go set traps because nobody else is gonna go do it. Species of beetle with numerous names, and there isn't always a thesaurus. Not quite like that. There shouldn't be anything with numerous names. That's like super against the rules. But it's just not always known where things are, and like our knowledge on some of these things is pretty limited. Like I was just talking about with the with this Rufostigma, this beetle that has the red spot on it. Um, it's weird, but it's apparently in those like four places that you can go get it. I don't know why you can't get it elsewhere, but we just haven't gotten it elsewhere yet. So it's not that people don't care. It's just that like there's a lot of state to cover, and there's only so many people that have come through here working on this certain group. We're it's sort of inspiration for like what I'm working on with this, and like the idea with the book. My boss and some of the other folks that have been working there are doing a Scarab Beetles of Florida book, which is also a very big section, and they're also taking liberties from the Dynastine book of like county level records, keys, pictures, all that sort of stuff. But people like scarab beetles. They like the big things with the horns. They like the big, shiny, colorful green ones and whatnot. It's harder to get people excited, and there's fewer people that are excited about ground beetles specifically. And so, I hope over the course of my career here, which I hope is long and joyful and prosperous and productive, I can get more people to care. I can get local collectors from around the state to be like, hey, yeah, I don't usually pick these up, but I know somebody who wants them now, so I'll collect them as I'm out. There's a whole big network of like trading specimens that happens of like, oh yeah, I don't really collect this group, but I see them a lot, so I'll pick them up, and then like once or twice a year I'll mail them off to people who are looking for that group from whatever area that I'm in. So that happens quite frequently. I have a ton of people all over the US that send me ground beetles because it's like, it's such a group that nobody cares about. Nobody else really likes them, so they're just like, oh, somebody that I could like pawn these off on? Yes. Just go. Um, when I got here a couple of months ago, my boss was like, "Yeah, here are 2 drawers of Florida ground beetles that like you can just have them. You can just have these. Like they're taking up space in my thing, so like just transfer them to your own drawer, and you can have the specimens. Like no strings. So also reading a book will help with guidance. Yes. Yeah, and so like we've got collections assistants and like people who aren't full time that are helping with some of like the data transcription and stuff for that. Um, and so I'm hoping that I can leech off of that or like get some of those folks to help me with this. Can help with getting some of that label data and stuff in for me. But again, long term projects. I have not even been here for half a year yet. I'm still like trying to settle into the house and the full routine and, make friends and whatnot while I'm here. So this will take a long time, and I recognize that and I acknowledge that. But uh, I will silently be working on it because once I get like a whole group transcribed, every time I find a new one in a new place, I have to like update my records then. Um, so yeah, it's a full thing. It's a very large project, but I am quite excited about it. Um, Goals are nice. I'll hold you accountable. Yeah. Uh, Getting that this community excited about it. That's great. I love to hear that. Um, I don't think everybody needs to care so deeply about ground beetles, but I do enjoy the fact that people are excited about insects. And so that's what I hope that these streams are. Showing you kind of like the other side of entomology that like you don't get this level of detail of like going through the keys and things like that on chats and whatnot. So it's a little bit different, but I enjoy doing it. I hope you guys enjoy it as well. But it has been going on 4 hours. So I am going to head off for the evening. Thank you all for coming in. Thank you again for the raid and for all you new chatters that have hung out here tonight. Mostly bug content. Typically stream on Mondays and Wednesdays at the very least. Sometimes over the weekend. So we'll see what happens. But what are we doing here? What do you got, Donkus? We're close. We got 17 minutes, but we're not going to wait it out. Because the folks and friends from Purple Martin Conservation and all of the Alveus folks are still live doing some charity fundraising and stuff for Purple Martin Conservation. So I am going to send y'all over there to hang out for the night. Thank you again for hanging out. It's very possible that I will go live again tomorrow. So peep the notifications. If you are new here, there is a Discord. If you just join that, there is a role selection channel in there where you can get notified if I go live. That'll give you a Discord notification specifically about it, but otherwise you can just get your notifications here on Twitch. All right. I'm going to send y'all over to Joe and the Alveus crew, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for a very good night. See y'all later.